Good. And
All right.
we are live.
We once again it's the free flow Saturday.
Free Flowing Saturday,
No,
uh,
no. It's,
third edition.
last time we were firing blanks for over 3 quarters of the session.
Yeah. I think
Napiga mdomo hapa na kumbe
we
we
are
are
not
on our
live.
own.
We are on our
But
own.
we are live. We really
We are
are live because
now we are
I
live.
can
Now
see
I can
I can see the
confirm.
counter from my end,
Let me check
and
also on
I,
my YouTube on the phone. Let me check. But I think today I'm confident. We are live. We are
I can see
live.
the timer from my end. There's a timer that indicates that we are live. We are actually about a minute into the show. So from my end, I can see it also.
Great. And I can see even. I think we have one viewer
You have one
who
viewer
is. Yeah.
from my end. It has not yet registered.
Or maybe that's me on my phone.
Okay.
I think that probably must have been me. But yeah, I've confirmed we
Hmm.
are live. So hey, let's celebrate this. Thank you, my
Hmm.
very able MVP Brian Ngudi Jr. for joining me for yet
Hmm.
another free flowing Saturdays episode number 3. So thanks a
Hmm.
lot, Brian. So tell me, how has your week been? This is now, what is it? The second week of January. We're going into the third week. Eh?
Yeah.
Wow.
Week was it was a week of recovery. Remember, last Saturday I was having some bit of an ailment. Then
Yes.
these elements are like it's like a flight from Mombasa to Nairobi. It is
Hmm.
ascent, then descent. So
Yes.
during the week it was descending. So by today I'm okay. But the entire week was a week of recovery. It was what was so annoying was the fact that I could not even do any of my workouts. So tough luck. But Monday morning we are back to business as usual. Um, you cannot
Yeah.
complain about health. You can
Hmm.
only be grateful that you're alive. And you see, the good thing about is when you feel pain, it means that you're alive at least. And it's only a flu, as disturbing or as annoying as it is. It's just a flu. We cough, we sneeze, and it ends. And you say, "Hi, move on." So it was a week of recovery, but we are back strategizing.
Yes.
One of my co-founder actually had a meeting with the potential local investors. So we may
Nice.
get feedback this week. These are people who are willing to they have expressed willingness to hold our hands in
Mm.
the business of extensive testing and
Right.
marketing. As I said before, Zeobike or Zeo Motors is not a razzmatazz company. It's a
Yes.
company which is serious about automotive manufacture. And one of the aspects of automotive manufacture versus assembly, manufacture, there's a lot of testing before you release a product. If we're doing assembly, you are assembling a product that has been tested abroad or something. So you have the confidence of putting it together as per the manual and selling it. We are taking the unbeaten path. And
Mm.
one thing we were discussing, you see, the
Hmm.
guy who was welding the frame
Yeah.
for the motorbike,
Yeah.
this is somebody with around 10 to 15 years of welding
Hmm.
metals and whatnot.
Hmm.
But that is the first time in his life he's welding a motorbike frame.
Mm.
And we were thinking then chances are this may be the first motorbike frame being welded from ground up since 1963.
Wow.
Because we're asking the
Mm.
available brands,
Mm.
Yamaha, Honda, Suzuki, all
Mm.
these are imports.
The
I don't
imports,
think
yeah.
there's any history of motorbike manufacture uh, organization in Kenya. So one
Mm.
of the challenges we're facing is the lack of a technology ecosystem. We ourselves, it's our first time doing
Yeah.
this thing.
Yeah.
The people on the technical side we are relying on to actually piece together the product. This is their first time they are doing such a thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
So we look at you look at how we pictured the product, then we look at how the product looks like. From our end, it looks decent, but there are some disparities between how we really wanted it, if you operate on a utopian view, versus how it came out. So we still have work to do. We have a
No,
lot of
no,
work.
no. I mean, that is what?
Hmm.
Iteration number one, prototype
Yeah,
one.
I
So
even I even
it's.
remember the the first Tesla car they made was a Roadster.
Mhm,
Now, Roadster, what they did, Roadster is not an original vehicle. If you can Google Lotus Elise,
mhm,
there's a car
mhm.
called Lotus Elise.
Yeah, I know
So,
Lotus,
so
which is
Tesla Road,
it's a British brand or something.
so Tesla Roadster
Mhm.
was an electric version of the Lotus Elise.
Mm,
It's actually a Lotus Elise fitted with a motor. That's what Elon Musk did the first time. And guess what? During the warrant, before the warranty period ended, 80% of those vehicles had broken down and had to be brought back.
mm.
Yeah. So we normally say, if Elon Musk can go through that, who are we? Who are we not to go through that? People like
Exactly.
Rivian, I don't know how they solved it. Currently, around 2 to 3 months ago, they were facing a problem with there's a bolt on the steering system which was discovered not to be properly tightened.
Mm,
So they had to do a recall because there was a probability of the vehicle, the steering components falling apart.
mm,
Now you imagine you are doing 120 kilometers per hour, then the steering falls off. So what we came to the agreement is that now that we have taken this path path that is followed by mad people, let's accept the madness. Yeah, we taken the path of least comfort. So
mhm.
when the whips come, just lie down and accept them. It's a path we've taken. uh, I think I said it I think I told someone I've invested in a blood pressure monitoring system in my house so that I check my blood pressure every morning because you never know what may happen. I can remember, it's only there are some things we don't show people, but now I can talk because we have a running prototype. On the day
And
of
and
the test, on the day of the test,
mhm,
the first test, shakedown, he does one cycle, very nice. I take the video. Second, it does take the video. Now, third time,
mhm,
he does the lap, then he was on the far end. I didn't know, but that's what he told me. He drives over a small rock. He loses control and he corrects into a car that was parked on the other side.
mhm,
So I'm looking down. I was doing so. Then I hear a bang, bang. I look. I see the vehicle. The bike is lying on one side. So we
mhm.
do a check. The bike is okay, but now we have to pay for damaging another car.
Yeah. So I think you raised some very important points with this because manufacturing of this level is what is lacking in Kenya and I guess much of Africa because we need to scale up our manufacturing to produce machines, to produce automobiles, motorcycle, beyond. I think currently much of our industrial areas is mostly maybe what food processing kind of factories and maybe I would say maybe light. I don't know how you would categorize it, but I would say maybe lightweight kind of manufacturing. So
even
you
even in the
raised
food even in the food manufacturing,
yeah,
we are also limited. For example, majority of my working life have been in
yeah,
beverage bottling industry.
yes,
Majority of the beverage components are imported. What happens in this beverage is simply blending.
mm,
Blending, you take the concentrate, add sugar and water. That's it. And there's a very powerful ecosystem that you can tap into. If I may, if somebody right now is to approach me and say, I want to go into bottling of beverage, I'll say, no. If you go into, there are so many bottling, beverage bottling companies of all sizes. So you'll be
Mm,
getting yourself into a rat race. But if you go
mm,
into flavor production, that's something
mm.
else. Yeah,
Yeah.
because these flavors are imported. You go into flavor production. Now you are widening the technology ecosystem. Because before in the food, everybody's into beverage blending and bottling, blending, bottling. If you go into flavor manufacturing, that is something. If you go into manufacture of this thing, you can try manufacture of industrial sugar, because the sugar that is used in bottling is called industrial, is imported. And when it comes to industrial manufacture of sugar, you can use an alternative. There are alternatives that can be used for, let's say, these non-sugar products. You
Mm,
can import those things are normally imported. You can manufacture that. You can even branch into agriculture and start producing stevia. Stevia is a type of
Stevia.
sugar.
Yeah.
It's called a non-calorific sugar, good for
Mm,
people with diabetes, but it
mm.
has a very sweet taste. So
Yeah.
if you have a stevia farm and a stevia crystallization system, that is now an entire industry on its own. Now those are new
Yeah.
opportunities. Those are new opportunities. The same within bottling. You can invest in a series of CNC machines for actually you get a series of CNC machines. Then you use your bottling experience or contacts, and you get which metal components are normally imported, and you start fabricating them locally, so that you don't have to import. If there's a metallic component, you can machine it to precision using a CNC. So you have an entire bank of CNCs, and I believe some of them are programmed with these dimensions, just a library. Which equipment do you have? You want a bearing ABC, activate the program, and it prints them out. So
You
this
know
an
what? Yeah, Brian, one thing I would probably want to encourage you to do, because I think you have some deep knowledge in this, and you can begin um, sort of sharing your knowledge either through either a form of this kind of videos that we are doing or through blogging. I think it would be good to look at how you can start sharing that knowledge. Like what you've just outlined is like the supply chain of a
Yeah,
particular industrial space. If you're talking
yeah,
around food processing, you've
yeah,
seen that there's a piece that is lacking in the
yeah,
market, and instead of you producing similar brands as everyone else, you're
mm,
tackling a particular piece that
yeah,
is missing, where they do import of that either product or finished
mm,
element that then it is utilized. Now let's come back to what you're doing with regards to Zeobikes.
yeah,
That frame that you got, that you put together through your welding expert that you had,
mm,
probably could be a company that just deals with that. It
yeah,
just produces those frames.
yes,
And then for you, who is doing
mm,
the end product, all you need is to get that piece, probably get another element from another company. I understand if you look at examples of Toyota, and I'm not an expert in this,
mm,
you'd find that around where Toyota is a number of companies that supply it with various components. It could be a company that has just specialized. Even let's look at even textiles. I understand there are companies that only specialize in making buttons only.
yeah.
So
It's like
whatever type of any element. So I think my challenge to you is to figure out how you can begin providing a voice, particularly in the space of manufacturing, either through way of vlogging, blogging, that you start becoming an expert, start looking at what is existent. I don't know if you know of a company called Gearbox, because we need to start figuring out what are these pieces that we need to put together to have a thriving industrial manufacturing sector. And now that you've already gotten into it through the prototype you've built, you're beginning to get insight and figure out, oh, okay, this is the experience that we went through. These are some of the things that I feel as a sector we need to start discussing and talking about. You've got Gearbox that is doing some elements of it, mostly around electronics, and there could be probably other guys that are doing it, probably at a very low scale kind of a level. But how can we begin to scale that? How can we begin to grow that? How can we begin to elevate it to the next level? And I don't know also if, as your partner probably does rounds around fundraising.
Well,
Sorry. Who is he
sorry.
talking to? Is it just local investors? Is he engaging with government? Is he engaging with other guys that might be influencing this sector?
Well, at the moment, we have, to a very large extent, avoided any, not really avoided, we've never thought of doing anything to do with the government. For one, for a large chunk of last year, we were deep into just finishing the, the prototype, having it running. So if we may have a government angle, that is something for this year. But for all intents and purposes, uh, the task right now is simply whatever we are doing, whatever people we are talking to, we are looking at the angle of extensive testing.
Mm.
One thing I've also
And
noticed
scale
is
it
that,
up. Scaling up
yeah,
is, I think, probably the other piece that you guys will probably be looking at.
yeah, it is, they go hand in hand. You see,
Mm,
you scale up something that you've affirmed is working properly,
mm,
because there's something called error propagation. If it
mm,
has not been refined properly, then you scale up. That means you'll be propagating so many errors. And if
mm,
so, of course, we are a manufacturing entity. Our end target is mass production. So it's a stepwise thing. Let's test it. Let's push. Let's have it have registration, insurance. Let's run it on the road. Seeing it on the road also, it is also an advertisement to the potential clients,
mm,
because it is far easier for someone to buy a Suzuki. Why? Suzukis are everywhere.
mm,
So during this extensive testing, plus of course, we may have a media launch, short, short section on the media, but the driving force will be putting the Zeobike on the road, not just seeing it on some yard or in some fancy video which has been tailor-made with some choreography. We need to actually have a situation whereby it is we make follow-ups such that in the event that when we have our first walk-in client who is new to this thing, we can show him some footages. We can show him really that telemetry of how this thing is running. Because one aspect of uh, a product like this one, customer confidence is key. And it will be at a slightly higher step when there's been some aspect of vision. Even if you have to do a customer test with someone like Pizza Inn, or KPLC, or this Wells Fargo or G4S, they have a product being tested with their branding. That's a plus for us. So apart from the technical details, not everyone is technically sound. Some are accountants, some are doctors, some are whatnot. So we can best spread the gospel through visibility. So
I
that's what,
agree. And then
that's what.
and that's a piece I'm talking about, the storytelling. I think the
Mm,
storytelling is a powerful element. I
mm.
think it would be good to probably now, I don't know if you guys even have a website that you've done. And now that you have a prototype, I think there's something substantive that you can share. And that's what I'm talking about.
Uh,
Figuring out
website
maybe,
website is ready. We
yes.
only need to do there are some adjustments on it, because we were discussing something. There's something called crypticness. There's a certain color scheme we need to discuss one on one with my co-founder to do something on the presentation of the when information is there. Just some okay. Me personally, I believe in crypticness. Maybe somewhere
What is
later I'll
script?
show.
What do you mean?
something that has a message that you have to be very keen to notice it, or
Oh,
I'll have
okay.
to tell you. For
Oh, I
example,
see.
like the logo for the Zeobike, maybe I'll share it later. It's something very, very Is there a way you can bring it here if I show it on, I share it with you on WhatsApp?
Yeah, yeah. Share it with me on WhatsApp. I'll share it here. I mean,
Mm,
I think what you're raising is very important. It's like marketing. Sometimes marketing is not
exactly.
so overtly. They don't tell you this is an energy
Mm.
drink you're selling. They'll
No,
probably
no.
try and sell it in a more. It's like a puzzle that you're trying
Yeah.
to unravel. So I agree, but I think the point is, I think let's work on if you can begin get the website out, share the story around the story that led to now this initial prototype, what birthed the idea, what are some of the major milestones, challenges that you guys went through, what are the wins. Now you're sort of now in the next phase of it, which you're now, you have elements around fundraising, you have elements
Mm,
around looking at how do you scale, how do you begin presenting this to prospect customers that probably might be also part
mm.
of your initial investors, because
Indeed,
if you
indeed.
start talking about pitching this to the dialogue delivery companies, all
Mm,
these courier services that are there in the city,
mm,
they might find, yes, looking at the savings they are making using an electric charged motorcycle vis-a-vis a fossil charged, a gasoline charged motorcycle. They'll feel those, they can see the gains. The gains are quite evident, particularly now with the high fuel prices. And then again, that's the other thing, because now you're in the green space, you're in e-mobility. You don't necessarily have only to talk about your product. Talk about what's happening within that whole ecosystem. We've seen now a charging station being put up in Kenya. Maybe you might
yeah.
want to do a vlog showing where this charging station, what does it take to put up one. We are seeing now, even companies now being encouraged to purchase hybrid or fully electric vehicles. Start start putting that information out and being part of that conversation, because now when there'll probably be conferences or other partners that are looking to come into the market on this, you'll probably be one of the guys that are seen
Mm.
as front runners. What do they call them,
Pioneers.
the pioneers in this space. So
Mm,
I think this is, and this blog post don't need to be much. It could be 2 3 paragraphs.
yeah.
It could be, and I know you have a good command of the English language.
Mhm.
I bet you're a good writer. It's all about how you put out your information. Some of the guys that are in the forefront or seen as pioneers are probably not anywhere close to the kind of stuff you guys have done. It's just that
Yeah.
they are probably more louder and are
Mm.
better on the
Or they have
storytelling
more
element.
resources,
Yes,
maybe. Mm.
more
So if you
resources.
can check I've sent you a logo of
Yes.
the Zeo Motors.
Let me let
It's
me let me let me let
quite
me go
cryptic
into my
because
WhatsApp.
I was looking at logos for various companies.
Yeah.
Tesla is actually a piece. Let me acknowledge Richie. Yeah,
Yes.
point was also water meter readers needing those electric bikes. Very true. So Tesla, their logo is actually a piece taken from a picture of a motor.
Yes.
And which other company do I know? Rivian is something to do with creativity. That thing of Rivian means creativity. The most interesting, I think the most outstanding logo is for a company called Arrival. That logo actually means nothing because it was designed by artificial intelligence using robots.
Mm.
Mm. The logo for Arrival is an electric company, electric
Mm-hmm.
e-mobility company. They have three products. They
Mm-hmm.
have the Arrival bus, Arrival van, and Arrival car. Yeah, that's the logo. It's very cryptic.
So this is the Zeobike logo.
Yes. No, Zeo
Uh,
Motors logo.
Zero Motors.
Yeah.
Okay. And I even like the term that you've now decided to call it Zero Motors.
Yeah.
Because
Shout out
then
to Sharif
probably,
Mustafa from Ohio. He's here.
oh wow, yes,
Yeah.
Sharif, Richie, thanks guys for joining us on this live.
Mm.
So tell us a little bit. So what does this mean? I'm seeing.
I know
Uh,
you can't guess anything from here, yeah?
yes,
You see,
you have to
uh,
let us in on what it means.
uh, Zeo Motors, we are about green energy.
Hmm.
So
The green, I
that
see.
it's green in color,
Hmm.
but I foresee a situation whereby when we'll be having our own full fledged, it will be we'll make it all silver when it's like we are setting up a company set up like a major headquarters. It will be all silver,
Hmm.
but you see that there's a zero on the outside. Yeah, it's zero. That green,
Hmm.
so it's
Okay,
zero. Zero
zero.
means
Yeah.
zero
Oh, I
emissions.
see. It has picked the zero, like the digital format of how
Yes.
zero, like when
Yeah,
you have
so
it on
that's
a digital,
yes.
how it
Now that's
appears. Yes.
zero emissions.
Aha. Zero
Uh-huh.
emissions. Aha.
Now you see that arrow pointing up on the
The
inside.
triangle inside,
It's an arrowhead pointing up,
it's an arrowhead, huh?
pointing upwards. So
Yes.
it means development or improvement. So
Aha.
all our improvements are within the encompassment of the zero emissions.
Mm.
All our improvements are within zero emissions. You get it?
I get it. I
It's
get it.
zero.
Wow.
We are improving, but within zero emissions. Now, there's something left. The zero
Uh-huh.
is in digital form,
Yes.
referring to the digital controllers that control our motors. See, the lifeblood of an electric vehicle is a
Yes.
digital controller. So that
Yes.
digital refers to the digital controller.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's all about. I'm sure it's something nobody would have known if I don't explain it to them.
Yes. I think this one is, as you say, very cryptic.
Yes, very good.
Um, and how did you go about conceptualizing it? Were you sort of sharing this with the graphic designer and said, I want elements of zero emission. I want elements of continuous, maybe you can call it continuous improvement or growth with that arrowhead pointing upwards. I want elements of digitalness, meaning, part of our evolution now to this green economy or e-mobility is powered more from a very tech focused, digital focused kind of
Actually,
an
actually,
experience.
what happened?
Uh,
I tend to. There's something called like-mindedness.
okay.
I tend to. My ideas tend to get fired up when I'm interacting with either other people or other products
Yeah.
which are cryptic. So, if you look at, there's this company called Yutong, one of my
Uh-huh.
favorite vehicle manufacturers. Yutong, so far the biggest bus manufacturer in the world. Yutong, their sign is a series of concentric circles, concentric semicircles.
Mm-hmm.
So those concentric semicircles mean expansion.
Mm-hmm.
So my thinking was this: why don't
Yes.
you what why don't I just communicate Zeobike using shapes?
Yes.
Yeah. Is it electric? Yes. Is it that means digital? Correct.
Yes. Yes.
Number of emissions, percentage emissions, zero. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Do we intend to improve? Yes, we intend to improve, but within the zero emission. So the upward arrowhead within the zero. What else?
Yes.
Um, Digital processors that control the motor. So let's give the zero digital. So that is how the idea came up. That's Yutong. Yeah, Yutong.
Yeah. I think I've seen the buses that have been introduced in Nairobi. That are they from are they Yutong products or they're
Which
from?
one? The
I saw
electric buses.
the electric buses. Yes.
No, 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 no. No, this is a Yutong. I forget Yutong F something is
Mm-hmm.
no, these are like the one in the picture
Mm-hmm.
is a Yutong for Europe. Is a European Yutong built for European markets, like the one you're
Okay.
seeing here. See, that's London. See the black taxi. Then this one is Yutong E12, the green one. Scroll back. Scroll back. No, no, the other side. I think right side. You're right. Where you were previously.
Where was it?
Again, again. Yes, the green one. Yeah, that is Yutong E12. Those are electric buses.
Okay.
Then this one is a diesel powered. Then there's the Yutong Ice 12. That is the I consider it the best luxury electric bus in the world.
Oh wow.
Yutong Ice 12. Now, what is in Kenya? The Yutongs that are in Kenya are all diesel powered. The ones that are
Oh
available are, the one that is blue colored, Rom,
yes. Yeah.
the Rom Air.
Yeah.
That is actually a vehicle called BYD. It's a Chinese company called
Yeah, I know
BYD,
BYD. Yeah, yeah,
Build
yeah.
Your Dreams. So that is
Yes.
a BYD. If you can Google BYD K9, you'll see it.
Uh-huh.
BYD K9, that is the one. Then this company called Basigo, they are selling the BYD K6.
Yeah. So it's
Uh,
it's interesting, and
hmm.
this is this is the future. This is definitely the future. And you guys,
So I
as
had
I
a
said,
discussion. I had a
uh-huh,
discussion with someone who came into
uh-huh,
my DM.
yeah.
They were, I like sharing. I normally say, like Elon Musk says,
Uh-huh.
patents are for the weak.
Mm-hmm.
I believe in sharing ideas because if the ideas, for example, I'm not in a position, I don't have the money to to fund an idea on my own. I'll put it
Mm.
free, like the recent idea I put on my Twitter
Oh
about a
yeah, I saw
system
it.
for reducing accidents on a railway crossing. I put it on
Mm.
my Twitter timeline. Whoever has the money and the connection to do it, do it. Then from my end, I'll know it was a good idea, rather than
Mm.
me rotting with ideas in my head. Because if they get stuck in my head, I can't think
Mm-hmm.
of other ideas. I'll be
Mm.
ruminating. When will I get money? When? Okay, think of something else. So this guy
Mm.
comes into my DM. We discuss two, three things
Mm-hmm.
about whatever he wants to do. Then I ask him the question that I've learned to ask myself after it was asked to me quite a number of times since
Mm-hmm.
2020.
Mm-hmm.
Whatever you are giving, what
Mm-hmm.
is the problem solving angle? Is it solving anything? So I
Mm.
asked him, now, your idea, what is it solving as compared to what we have? And that became a very difficult question. So I told him, listen, let me give you an idea that you can run with. Currently, we have these two companies, Basigo and the ROM Air. They have electric buses. We happen to have something called OPV,
Mm-hmm.
optical photovoltaic film. Is
Mm-hmm.
actually a flexible solar panel.
Mm-hmm.
It can either be transparent or the others. The one that I've been, whose deal I've been talking to, it is
Mm.
transparent from the inside and translucent from the outside. So it's like a
Mm-hmm.
tint. So
Mm-hmm.
I told them, why don't you, and this technology that's available,
Mm-hmm.
why don't you purchase these items, then go to these people, Basigo or Rom Air, listen,
Mm-hmm.
and let's incorporate OPV into the buses so that
Mm.
the film can be plastered on the windows of the bus to
Mm-hmm.
contribute to the power. The one that I know, it will give you 40 watts per square meter. So a bus, most that bus, the Rom Air bus is
Mm.
around 12 meters,
Mm.
if I'm not wrong, 12 meters.
This is 12
So
meters long.
long. So we are
Mm.
we are assured of around 10 meters square from one
Mm-hmm.
end to the other. Then from the other side is another, the other side of the bus, another 10 meters squared. That
mm,
is 20 meters squared. 20 meters squared times 40 watts. That is 800 watts of sunshine. So
mm,
each time the vehicle is moving on the road on a sunny day, it gets an 800 watts supply of power. It's good for the lighting system and other gadgets of the
mm,
bus. So I told him,
mm,
run with that to basic to Rome Air and see what they have. Now, apart from buses, we have these shopping malls, these huge buildings, which most of it is simply like it looks glassy from top to bottom. Approach them. Right now, electricity bills are a headache and a half. So
mm.
imagine a tall skyscraper. When you are from 1 square meter of OPV, you get 40 watts. How many square meters of film are available? Let's say 100 square meters. That is like 100, 100, let's say 80 square meters. 80 square meters times 40 watts. That's 3,200 watts free of charge. So at the end of the day, in most cases, and this is technology that doesn't need any R&D. You buy it, plaster it, and you are good to go. Connect it to the lithium batteries, and you are off.
Yeah,
So
I mean, Brian, this definitely confirms you need to share this kind of information through
maybe I'll start. I think there's a
a
WordPress.
YouTube
I'll set up a
channel.
WordPress thing, a
Yeah, just
WordPress.
set a WordPress press, just start blogging about this, saying
Mm,
how can we leverage all the services that we have in a city
mm,
to uh, to attract more power through solar,
mm.
uh, and all these are opportunities that we could begin utilizing. Um,
Especially technology that research has already been done.
yes.
Because I was telling him, especially when a building is being brought up,
Hmm.
at that point, money is very liquid.
Mm,
Money is
yes.
very liquid at that particular time. So you can say this budget for Windows, or if you go to, I think, South Korea, they already have windows which already have with the film already. The
It
window, you
comes
don't
with a
have to,
film.
yeah, you don't have to buy the film. You just buy the window, just specify the frames. You come in, connect, get an electrician to plug, to connect the windows to the bank of lithium batteries. And you, at the end of the month, you look at your power bills and you say, wow, because at that point, lighting is now free. Lighting
Okay.
is free. Then you put those horizontal, they're called horizontal turbines, the ones that you they're on the roof. You know, those fans, natural draft fan. What you
Mm.
do, you connect that one to a small turbine so that at night, since there's no sun, that rotating thing will get you power because at night it tends to be windy.
And just imagine, if there's something that Africa is blessed with, we have
Mm.
literally sun all year long.
Yeah.
Even during our rainy days, there's always sun.
Mm,
We don't have those kind of periods or spells of
mm,
months on end, like in some parts of Europe and America,
mm,
where they don't get any single sun. It's
mm,
dark probably
mm,
half of the day. So
mm,
if we were to leverage this, let's
mm,
look at some of the problems that we are embattled with. In China, we hear people using generators. In South Africa, we understand they are now
mm.
undergoing load shedding. What kind of innovations can we begin tapping
In
to
fact, I was
resolve
a bit,
some of
I
these
was a bit,
problems?
I was a bit, I found it very surprising
Hmm.
that people are complaining about the load shedding thing. Yet, if you go to eBay, most likely eBay, you'll
Mm.
find, these, whenever these Teslas, they have Teslas or any other electric vehicles, these vehicles are
Hmm.
insured, correct? So it has
Hmm.
an accident, chances are it gets a replacement. But
Hmm.
in some cases, the battery is in top condition.
Hmm.
So those batteries, you can import them to serve as power walls so that you
Yes.
can, instead of using a very loud generator, you plug in your power wall so that when there's power, you are you are building up your buffer. So
And you see, this is the thing. The solutions are there. As you're talking of, South Korea has probably built window panes that already have that solar panel
mm,
film
mm.
that then
Call an
can be
OPV.
utilized. It's an
OPV.
OPV.
Mm,
Now, I'm thinking as Africa, and because our geography and where we are placed, we are blessed with sun all year
mm,
round, literally much of Africa. How can we begin to take up these innovations as they are and possibly advance on them or use them as they are? But more importantly, what you want to do is import it from South Korea,
mm.
study it, and now start producing it locally. And there's
Yeah.
already a market that is in place. We know
Mm,
much of Africa, we are all struggling with electrification of our countries. I mean, I
yeah.
think Kenya probably must be at what? Is it 70, 80% electrification rate? So there's still opportunity to do much more. And we know our electricity is not 100% reliable. How can we start uh, tackling these real problems?
I think at this point,
Electrification and
I'll take it as
having
a challenge.
reliable, and then
I'll,
use that again
I'll take
to
it as a
begin
challenge
building our
mm,
industrial
to
base.
to come
Yes.
up with that blog. I think, yeah,
Come up
I'll
with
come
that
up.
blog, start sharing these opportunities. Again, as you
Mm,
saw with what you shared on Twitter,
mm,
you're bound to get collaborators, possibly
mm,
people who are ready to invest,
mm,
possibly people who are in this space that you could start
mm,
discussing these solutions, how they
mm,
could be expanded, how they could be improved, or how can we do mashups. Sometimes it could be a combination, as you're saying, of
mm,
that film and
mm.
somewhere we can begin tapping in wind. So when
Yeah.
there's less sun, we are now
Mm,
utilizing
mm.
the wind
The,
energy.
the
So,
turbine.
now that
In
I
fact, we
start
are.
thinking
In fact,
about it,
I think
it's
you've seen
much
them
better
when you look at these
solution.
warehouses. You've
Yes.
seen cooling system. It's just simply attaching them to a motor. You just plug in a motor and link it to a lithium battery. So while it's rotating, because they are rotating free.
Man, the
Mm,
opportunities exist. And as we are talking about this around
mm,
expanding our
mm,
manufacturing base,
mm,
growing it from just doing basic food processing
mm,
uh, factories. How can we begin growing either cottage industries and
mm,
scaling those cottage industries now to large scale factories, and even now growing that in terms of the scale and the complexity of some of the stuff that we are doing. Why is it that we are averse to doing this hard work? We've just seen, I think the story that was trending earlier this week was of this property developer, Lesedi Developers, that was discovered to be a con job. We've we've literally become an economy built on con artists and
No,
scammers more than the real
it's-
economy of people dedicated on doing the real hard work, productive work that can begin
I can't
employing
blame them.
thousands and thousands of people.
I can't blame the con artists. You
Mm,
see, if you walk around smelling, why would you complain when the flies start swarming around you?
mm,
The con artists are simply is some sort of an ecosystem that is existing because, as
mm,
George NGA says, we are who
mm,
we are. This is like, you see, if I find you walking and then for some reason flies are swarming all over you viciously and aggressively, chances are there's something wrong with you. Nothing is wrong
mm.
with the fly. The flies are being what they are,
They're
right?
doing the thing.
Yeah, that's the thing. Huh. If you
Yeah,
take,
if you
if you go
smell
to
it,
the
you'll
street,
attract them.
if you are, if let's say, I need 300,000 shillings from you, I have an option of going to the bank and doing the EFT, all right? What's it called? EFT, yeah.
Yeah.
But doing an EFT. But now,
Mhm.
instead of doing EFT, I go and withdraw 300,000 cash and I start working it with it in town, Tomboya Street, Moy
Mm,
Avenue,
mm,
Kayole, with
mm,
300,000. If I
mm,
get mugged and beaten to a pulp, do you really want to blame those tags are being who they are? You have an option
mm,
of using an EFT. You have an option of doing a banker's check. You have an option of, if it is an abroad thing, PayPal, those options are there. But you opted to do your own puny stuff. I'll give
mm,
you a more technical example. There's this
mm,
another very major bus manufacturing company. I think they are second to Yutong in China. They're called Zongtong. If you
mm,
come to Kenya, a few companies have them, but they are very big in Tanzania.
mm,
The Zongtong bus, the engine is what we call Detroit diesel Cummins. It's an
mhm,
American engine.
mhm,
The gearbox is ZF. It's a German engine.
mhm,
The framework is from another country. The axle is from another country. The only thing they invest in, they do
the
R&D
body.
on the body. And
Okay.
but then they do a lot of work, and not like these things we do in Kenya, because when they work on the body, number one, power to weight ratio,
Mhm,
because one of the biggest vehicle manufacturers in Kenya, in the world, was saying the bodies that are built in Kenya, on average, they are 1.5 tons heavier than the imports.
mm,
So when we're doing research on the body, there's power to weight ratio,
mhm,
there's safety through
mhm,
crash testing. Then there's what we call airflow around the engine for cooling, airflow profile for cooling purposes. That's why you
mhm,
find a locally built bus. After a while, in transportation slang, we call it mapuawazi. The vehicle is
mhm,
being driven with the grill open
mhm,
because they just built the bus cosmetically.
mhm,
They didn't put the issue of airflow around the engine. And then
mhm,
there's what you call the interior fittings and aesthetics. So that is
mhm,
the only thing that Zongtong has focused in. So R&D on the body, buy the engine from America, buy the gearbox from German, get
mhm.
the frame to make the chassis and the rest from the springs and shocks, and you package it as Zongtong and
Zongtong.
sell it. And sell it.
Yeah.
And someone here can take 6 billion shillings and invest in a mall. Who is to
Oh
blame?
man.
Who is to blame? The one that we are touting, I don't know what, 4 rivers or how many rivers, in 3 rivers, or how many rivers are they calling it?
I
That
mean, is
one.
this? We
How
keep
many?
being
How
told.
many billions? How many billions has 3 rivers consumed?
Oh yeah, yeah. Two rivers in
Yeah,
which
your
is,
two
I
rivers.
think it's, yeah, it's funded by Centum.
How much? You can imagine how many billions have gone
Oh
there.
man, that's a lot, man. Because that's like a mini city right there.
Exactly. Now, look, compared to what these Zongtong people are doing, buy an engine, buy a gearbox, buy a chassis, then pump like 200 or 500 million shillings into thorough research into bodywork. You have an entire, now Zongtong is supplying vehicles all over.
And you see, that was, I think we discussed this. I don't know if it was on the recorded live or not.
Let
Which
me
is
share with you also a picture of one of the Zongtong buses so that you
okay.
understand what we are missing out on. So, um,
And that's what I was talking about. I think talking about what was this car manufacturer that is out on Samia Business Park? What's it called?
on
Mobius.
Mobius.
Yes.
I,
I
I'm
think
I'm yet to hear. I'm yet to hear of the hear of a plant.
exactly. So
Mm,
and I think this is some of the stuff I'm sort of prodding you to share on your
mm.
blog post to say, if you've got examples of the likes of Mobius, where is this car being really assembled? Where is it being put together? I mean, we know
Secondly,
the engine is not our own, but that's a part. I think part of that evolution for us to get us to the point where we can
it
say
doesn't matter
we
if
are
the engine.
building our
It doesn't
own
matter if
car.
the engine. It doesn't
Yeah.
matter if the engine. The Yutong that I'm praising, they use
Yes.
the ones that they use in they come that the ones in come in Kenya. They're using Cummins.
The Utongs also are using Cummins, eh?
You know FAO. I think there's FAO in Rwanda. These FAO trucks.
Yes.
FAW. Those are
Yes.
Cummins. Now, the Yutong in China, they use an engine called Weichai. That's a Chinese thing. But
Okay.
globally, their imports are based
Mm.
on the Cummins engine.
Yeah.
So
I
having
guess they
another
render
engine
more
is not a
reliable.
problem.
Yeah.
And then uh, the issue I have with the Mobius people,
Mm.
if I'm to go into vehicle manufacturing, Why don't I go to the type of vehicle that is purchased in huge quantities, huge volumes almost every month?
Hmm.
Trucks, trucks,
Hmm.
pickups, buses, lorries,
Yes.
they are purchased every month. And if you make it a government thing, which Parastatal doesn't own a truck. And the beauty of a truck is that a truck is a commercial vehicle. All it needs is a Parastatal employee who works in that department, and he sees how that vehicle is performing, takes a loan and buys one for his own.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
because you can use it for business, I guess
Yes.
that's why it's a very viable investment to
Yeah.
make, and it
Mm,
makes all the sense. I was actually shocked. I think there was a
mm,
time I was listening to, I think is it the CEO of Mercedes Benz,
mm.
and I think people think that their biggest business is the saloon sedans,
No, no, no.
but he
Trucks.
actually said it's the truck business, which is their
The
biggest
the
business.
the the production line. Last
Mm,
time I checked, if my figure is correct, the production line for the Mercedes Actros plant is
yes,
1.4
actors.
kilometers. 1.4 kilometers.
I think that's a factory,
Yeah.
1.4 kilometers wide, a big
No, the
man.
line. No, not the
The line
factory.
itself.
The
Yeah.
line only. 1.4 kilometers.
Man.
And now it is a 1.4 kilometer production line that
Mhm.
produces variants of vehicles, not just
Mm.
one type. Because on that particular one, you'll find Mercedes Actros normal prime mover. You'll have Mercedes Actros fire engine. You'll find Mercedes Actros fire truck, Mercedes Actros tow truck, Mercedes Actros garbage truck. They are being manufactured on that same line. What is preventing us? Okay, that Mercedes maybe is too far, but look at what Zongtong are doing.
Yes.
Buy
I
an
think that
engine, buy a
for me,
gearbox, Valisha, Andika, Kenya Motorworks, Wuza. End of story.
that's the point. I think the Chinese model for me is a
Mm,
great model
mm.
to copy paste, if I
Yeah.
can say that. Actually, it's just to copy paste. I think when we were
Mm,
discussing about Mobius, you
mm.
said the body that they have copied, I mean, looks like a similar brand. They could
Yeah.
have decided to innovate more on the body
Mm,
and come up with something almost completely new
mm.
by taking up that challenge. I mean, every other element could be uh, an import from some of the bigger brands. If it is the engine, I don't know. You say the engine is made of what? Is it Saab or what is it? Is it
Sub. The Mobile, they use a sub engine.
they use a Saab. It's an Eastern European
No,
brand,
sub
is
is
it?
a Swedish.
Scandinavian,
Yeah.
Swedish, eh?
They used to
Yeah,
pattern Scania, sub Scania.
whatever that might be. I think the idea is let's replicate the Chinese model. The idea is start from what you know
Mm.
and build from there to start either building some unique aspects of your own.
But
Maybe just
focus
imagine,
on commercial vehicles.
yes, just
How
imagine if
many
the body,
how many how you walk into any commercial, any financial entity? How the ease of acquiring a loan, which one is easier? Loan for a
yeah,
personal car
or
or loan
commercial.
for a commercial vehicle? A commercial vehicle they'll be running after you,
Correct.
especially
Actually,
yeah,
my proposal was this, and it's good you've introduced the element of commercial. My
mm,
proposal was this for them to grow up to be a profitable, viable company was
mm,
if Kenyan government to
mm,
start with, as a way to begin promoting this so-called Kenyan brand, is to
mm,
say all government vehicles for ministers and for the ministries, every sort of Kenyan government entity should buy a unit from these guys. I'm sure this
yeah,
will even incentivize them to begin now considering putting a whole assembly line in Kenya for producing this car because this is a guaranteed demand and
yeah,
government will always pay. So
yeah,
one is to source, make sure that the government is the one that now spurs private individuals, private companies to begin entrusting this brand. And I think on the body part that you mentioned, one thing that I was thinking that these guys would have done would have
mm,
said, okay, we have a challenge. We need to design our own unique body. One that even has elements that we might call Kenyan. So what do? Maybe push this challenge to universities. So all the guys that are in mechanical engineering saying we are going to reward the best body design that we get from the engineering
You
schools
see,
all across Kenya, and they'll get
you,
probably great stuff out there. They could even encourage
now that you've
mechanical
talked of
engineering individuals to also participate in that effort, and then eventually they will pick up
now
one
that you're talking of
and run that kind of a thing. These are challenges. These are things that we could do locally.
you see, you introduced something that has really made me remember a very funny situation. Um, it was I found it quite shameful. I'll share it on your WhatsApp. There's
Mm,
this university. They they designed a car.
mm,
So I'm not a student of design, but I was thinking that somebody who is in university, they would design something. Just check your WhatsApp.
mhm,
I've sent you a picture of a car designed and built by I think MKU.
mhm,
And so the moment you talked of taking the design from university students, I started laughing. Just go
mm.
to your WhatsApp. There's a vehicle that has been designed by MKU, and I wanted to ask, does this department have what is it, AutoCAD department or something like that, or a design? Because I looked at it
I
and
see.
said,
That thing looks terrible.
"You've
Ah,
seen
it
it.
looks terrible. Yeah, I
You can
see.
see it."
Let me share it.
I said, I okay. When it comes to vehicle design, it's a very simple way around it. Designs can be bought. There are commercial designers worldwide who can design for you and sell you the rights.
Mhm.
There are, let's say, this guy called, Koenigsegg.
Yeah, I
Koenigsegg.
know Koenigsegg. Yeah, I know Koenigsegg.
Most of
Yeah.
his vehicles, he is a Swedish, but one of his best designers, not even a Swede.
Mm,
So, as a country, we can simply, for purposes of fast tracking the production process, you can buy a design from. You can actually hire someone to design it, then you buy the rights
mhm,
for purposes of fast tracking. Now let our design team now work from there. You can iterate from there. But if these are what we call cream de la cream of our academic institutions,
mm,
these are the ones they have what we call powerful computers and whatnot, and they are design lingo and this is what they are coming up with.
mm.
I think we have to. We normally say you scratch yourself according to your I don't know what or something. Jikune kulingana na makucha yako or whatever they normally say. But vehicle designs you can actually get on a global scale world class experienced designers. They design for you and you own the rights. So it's not an issue. In fact, we are at a point where vehicle design is, in fact, vehicle manufacture at this moment, you can actually come up with your own vehicles from nowhere. There's a car called VinFast.
Yeah, I
VinFast,
know
if I can,
VinFast.
it's
Is it
from,
Vietnamese? One of
yeah,
these South
Vietnam.
Asian countries.
Those
Yeah.
guys who are being beaten by Rambo or who on the movies.
Yeah.
Yeah. Walikuwa kinyoroshwa na kina Sylvester Stallone hapo in 70s and whatnot. They now have VinFast. Maybe I can share with you how VinFast looks like. VinFast was in collaboration with BMW.
Hmm. And their
This is
car
the
is
Vin.
it's pretty good, bro.
Yeah, this VinFast. Let me just
Hmm.
share it on your WhatsApp right now. There we go. That's the one VinFast VF8 from Vietnam, of all people.
Mm,
Vietnam. In 1970s, when we normally say in 70s, we were at our peak of economic might, Vietnam was being pounded. You are pounded to a point where they make movies about you being pounded. Then here we are. So to a very large extent, as George says, we are who we are. As I said, somebody's willing to blow away billions in a mall, but you need less than currently. I'm sure if you give me 1 billion shillings, I'll go to China, sit with Chinese engineers, I'll get you a Kenyan diesel electric hybrid truck.
And
And then easily,
I'm
right
as a
at my current level of confidence, give me 1 billion, give me a ticket to China. With the knowledge I have, I sit with those Chinese engineers. I'll come to Kenya with a shipload of vehicles and blueprints. Of course, I'll go to China with a group of very young, sharp, talented Kenyans. When we come back to Kenya, we have a small plant that can produce 10 trucks per day for
I mean,
starters.
one of the senior engineers that we learned in Tesla was a Kenyan guy, fully
Yeah,
educated in Kenya.
mm,
I think he
yeah,
later went to the US to
mm,
advance his education.
mm,
I mean, government should be looking at some of this talent.
mm. So, as I
Give
said,
him whatever salary he needs and attract him to come back. I'm sure he would very much feel, even find it more fulfilling doing
mm,
whatever he's doing for his own
mm.
country. So the monetary incentive, as much as it is good, I think it will not be his only driver. So
And apart from giving him money, give him the environment. Don't bring him here and then you drown him in bureaucracy. He has selected his own team of people. Then so mkubwa amesema huyu ni kijana mzuri sana, and you are swamped with the usual
yeah,
black
yeah,
African in
you're
conflict.
stifling that talent.
Yeah. So it's just not
I,
enough to give them money. Give them the environment. You cannot say, I want to convert this all government heavy vehicles, the heavy diesel vehicles, companies like Kenya Pipeline and these parasols we use trucks. Let's convert them into hybrids so that they use less fuel. Then you find somebody there is against that because he's receiving a kickback for procurement of diesel. We are who we are. We are who
it's a
we are.
sad thing. It's a sad thing. I
Mm,
mean, every time I think of particularly something like Mobius, it's
mm.
been in the market for a while now. Government with just a simple policy decision
One signature.
change. Just one thing could change the fortunes of this.
Mm.
These guys, every year, I don't know how many cars they buy from Toyota, VW, Mercedes Benz, and the like. If they could just put that signature and say, from now henceforth, no more Mercedes Benzes, no more Toyotas as part of the government fleet. And boom, that company will be hiring tomorrow.
Yeah, because they'll be struggling to meet demand.
The demand,
Now,
yes.
one of my is
And that,
someone
you can
who
imagine,
is,
even the price will go down to a point that when government buying at the buying in bulk in the numbers that they do, immediately will force some of their prices to go down.
yeah, because
And
government
then
want to buy
your
one vehicle.
regular, I mean,
Mm.
that SUV I think is going for roughly about 3 million.
3 million, three at most 3.5.
3.5, whatever it is. That's an affordable cost. People can buy those kind of vehicles at 2 million, probably once they go down. And of course, there'll be the financing behind. The banks will be already riding on that. You can get financing, buy that vehicle, and you're riding a brand new vehicle instead of importing a Toyota from Japan into the country, and you're importing a second-hand vehicle. So you're buying a brand new. The ecosystem for repair is right locally there. So just the whole ecosystem which will
Ecosystem gets
advance.
changed. One
So
signature is enough. Mm.
one signature, it changes the fortunes of everything. Man, this is a great discussion. I think today we've really discussed down around
We've made
this.
amends for last week's. Yeah,
Yeah,
we've made amends thoroughly. Mm.
great. I want to recognize some of the guys who've joined us in this
We have
conversation. So for
Mr. Melon Husk. This guy,
Mhm.
Melon Husk, nearly made my heart to skip because I thought it was Elon Musk. I wanted to say, the man I'm looking for is here, but it was
It's
Melon
right
Husk.
here. Yeah.
Anyway, good to see you here. Mr. Melon
Thank
Husk.
you. Thank you. I
Thank you
think let's read
for.
some of the comments they've shared. If you can see, I think there's one there. Knowledge transfer is absolutely mandatory. Foreign companies, Western or Eastern Europe or Eastern, should be forced to pass on knowledge to the local country. Just look at how Honda were denigrated when they appeared. Um, so when you
That
mean
one.
forced, what do you mean? Is this when they come to invest like in Kenya, there should be
No, it's like what India
some
did.
terms attached to
What
it.
what how what India did with people like Toyota, Volvo. They tell them, okay, we're not going to allow you to import vehicles here.
Ah, nice.
You bring
Yes.
your factory, and that's why, as my former boss, one of my former bosses, an Indian, says, the Volvo factory in India, that factory only is the size of Mombasa.
Mm,
Yeah. So what India said, listen, look at our population. These people need jobs. We can't have you just bringing complete vehicles here, and then who is going to buy these vehicles when the people are not economically empowered? So what you
yes.
do will facilitate you to have land, build. You say what you want, power, name it, facilities. Then you bring your automotive manufacturing system plus training package. Now, this is something I raised some time back, and as I said, as it's normally said, we are who we are. I told someone, um, that was somebody based in Mombasa. Excuse me.
Hmm. Hmm.
Someone based in Mombasa, they were complaining, oh, the SGR and the port of Mombasa, blah, blah, blah. Listen, you cannot be sitting then depending on the port. And why don't you do this? We know majority of those Arab businessmen are quite rich. Why
Hmm.
don't you do
Hmm.
this?
Hmm.
Fly to China. I know. I think by now the the best-selling phone. I don't know. It's Techno or what, whatever. Go to Techno headquarters. Tell them, give us your figures, sales volume for Techno to East Africa for 1 year. How
Hmm.
much how much now that you are in January 2023, how much did you sell? This is the figure. Excellent. That amount of money you generated in 1 year from selling Techno, we are going to give you that money upfront right now in exchange for the following things. Number
Hmm.
one, we want the phones to be brought to us in dismantled form. Number two, we want 90% financing for a mobile phone assembly in Mombasa. Number three, we want training and technical supervision. Technical supervision should be under Techno so that the products we are making are at global standards. Number four, give us what we call distribution agency for East and Central Africa so that whoever is contacting Techno in China is referred to Mombasa. Will they say no to that? In exchange for 1 year volume of, of sales. Their business people say, wonderful, we'll take it. Now you'll have a factory in Mombasa that is manufacturing Techno Androids, Techno those pads, Techno Kabambes, Techno chargers, Techno whatever, and a factory is manufacturing all those products for East and Central Africa. What could be the size of that factory? What would be the size of that factory? Instead of saying, oh, port, port, port. Now, the problem is that if such a factory is to exist, where are the politicians going to get crowds for throwing stones?
Exactly.
The current political system doesn't allow for people to be empowered.
I
Because
mean, these ideas we are sharing here seems so much of a no-brainer. And I don't think we are the only people thinking like this. I'm sure there are way smarter people than us in government.
mm,
But I
someone
guess
knows,
the
someone knows,
interests,
someone
the,
knows. If we
there are
have a
people that have
situation
so
whereby,
many interests that are part of the government that would sort of block this kind of advances. So somebody talking of building a factory for techno phones in Kenya would mean it kills his whole business, which is built on doing imports. Maybe he's a single sole supplier of all the techno brands that we have in Kenya, and just because he's got it's it's all within our reach. It's possible. As we said, just looking at that example of how you can turbocharge Mobius car manufacturing in Kenya with a single policy decision, it can be done first thing Monday morning.
But now
And that
someone
changes everything.
now
And
now what
immediately
is
you can see the ripple effect of that in terms of the employment and some of the
mm,
secondary jobs that will be created out of that. They
mm,
probably may need to start, creating training programs for the mechanics that will be now
mm,
servicing these vehicles. There will be a whole industry established overnight by a single policy decision. We've looked at the solar industry and how you can incorporate that with property and building sector and
mm,
development sector, and seeing how you can begin tapping that to begin tackling some
mm,
of the solutions that we have around electrification, reliable electricity that can change. Now that has other multiplier effect because it impacts on many other sectors, and then the productivity increases by
another issue
several folds.
I'd tried to raise with someone and it got
Mm,
somehow shut down was um, we can tap this SGR, you can tap into it in another way.
mhm,
In terms of passenger transport, we can do away with it. There's nowhere in the world where trains make money from passenger.
mm,
Nowhere. Everywhere in the world, passenger trains they rely on government subsidy. It's simply a means of getting people to travel quickly or something of the sort.
mm,
They rely
mm,
on subsidy so much.
mhm,
You, for purpose of Kenya, we can get rid of that train, passenger train. Where those train stations are, the infrastructure is there. Convert them into what we call uh, truck loading areas. There's this
mhm,
concept that I've seen it being used in India,
mhm,
whereby the trains have flatbed wagons that are transporting trucks. So you
mhm,
drive your truck, load it onto a train.
mhm,
Within 5 hours, you are at Syokimau. You can continue with your journey. So number
mhm,
one, fuel consumption is low. It's actually very low because that train is efficient. It's moving a lot of material. Wear and
mhm,
tear of the vehicle is low, and you are clearing up the highways. And business is better because somebody knows that if he's on a truck, he has parked his truck. He knows that well that if his truck departs at 1 p.m., by 6, he's in Syokimau, which is impossible even with a bus. But then again, some group of people, those cartels at way bridges, will be missing out because that's where the money is, the way bridges, those toll
I
stations.
mean, you could even think of it this way.
Mm,
The old rail
mm,
runs parallel to the SGR.
yeah.
Why not say that one of it will be fully freight services?
Now
Freight.
for that one,
So, and that
um,
means if it means them extending the
mm,
gauge to
mm,
make it a meter wide to
mm,
be the standard gauge level,
mm.
that's something easy to do. It's just a matter of changing the gauge. Actually, that was the initial proposal that they had said that instead of doing a whole new rail, would have modified the existing rail to be a
And
standard
it's
gauge.
something you need to realize the difference between the
Mm,
meter and the standard gauge is
mm,
the standard gauge is 1.456 wide.
mhm,
So if you lift the rail and then you see that cross member is called a sleeper, and you
mhm,
take a 2 meter sleeper,
mm,
then you make it wider. That is standard. That is you have moved from MGR to SGR. You lift and you make it wider. That is how
easy,
you. And
easy.
secondly, I don't know what is there's something I'm not understanding. There are in Singapore, there are parts of Singapore where they run the meter gauge railway line, and the average speed of a meter gauge railway line in Singapore is 160 kph.
Yeah. Is it a
So how come
diesel powered engines,
diesel
or
power,
what engine?
diesel
Diesel
electric
power.
power,
Okay.
160 kph. Electric, we are talking of 250 and above.
Yeah.
For the diesel, the fastest, but there's a diesel engine, diesel locomotive by Siemens, is clocking 200
Siemens. Yeah.
kph.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what I'm understanding, how come our meter gauge is so slow? Because the meter gauge in Singapore is doing 160 kph.
I think it's the engine carrier itself, which I think
No, there's something
we bought
called
some
rail.
old locomotives, I
There's
think.
something called rail stability. There's
Mm,
a locomotive engineer in Kenya. Same, even the old locomotive can clock
mm,
100 kilometers per hour. It's only that the quality of the work they do on the meter gauge is
mm,
pathetic. Like if you just if you are in Kenya, go stand on there's a meter gauge railway just outside my house. If you
mm.
stand uh, in the middle and you look across it, it looks crooked.
Yes, I've seen that.
Mm.
Yeah, I
Yeah, it's
used to use the
crooked.
train a lot when I was in
Yeah,
Nairobi. Hmm.
it's crooked. So I'm wondering, is this the reason why the train is so wobbly or not? So when you have a crooked railway line, is that not just negligence?
Yeah, yeah. And this
That's
is very
negligence.
old infrastructure that was built by the British.
Yeah.
When they had
It just
what used to
needs
be
somebody
termed
from
as
government come and says, number one, I want the rails to be straight.
yeah.
Number one, we have a meter gauge railway line in Singapore that is doing 160. I want that 160 here today, or you tell me you do not know, then I fire you. Then I bring someone who knows. Because you can't be here for all these years and you tell me, like that train that goes to Kisumu, it takes 12 hours from Nairobi to Kisumu. That means an average of 29 kilometers per hour. You are in 2023 and you are
12
traveling at
freaking
20,
hours, man.
29 kilometers per hour. And then that's what also
That thing is so
says,
slow.
that's
Probably
what I
Kipchoge
normally
Keino
say.
runs faster than the train itself.
That's why I say I think being a leader in Kenya is the easiest job. In another country, a train moving at that speed, everyone will say, Simamisha, what an issue. But we are so poor that when you put people in that train, they actually kneel down and thank you because there are people saying, hii kitu imetusaidia, bei yake ni nafuu, sijui nini, and we are ready to accept trash because of who we are. So for some of us who are in this field of technology and we are somehow open-minded, we are actually we are swimming across we are swimming across against the tide whereby the average Kenyan has adopted a defeatist attitude. For you,
It's it's
you have come to the conclusion that a matatu tout is always rough. It's okay. You know that matatus are operated recklessly, but it's okay. No problem. Zinakuanga hivyo tu. So it's our attitude. You have been beaten down to a point that in the event that you bump into a polite conductor, it becomes news.
yeah,
Yet you are
that's
paying.
true.
You are paying.
That's true.
If
That's true.
if the guys were rude because they are giving you a free ride, you could say, okay, sir, that's the cost of free things. But
Just
you are paying.
imagine. I think we'll open a whole nother discussion. Um, but yeah, I think this has been quite an interesting discussion,
Mm,
talking about transportation, manufacturing,
mm,
Zeobike,
mm,
the e-mobility space, which is, I think quite an exciting space to be in. I'm really
yeah.
enjoying
Mm,
this kind of discussion, and what the future portends for us.
mm,
I think the only discouraging part is our politicians and our governments that, as much as they have every resource at their disposal, they still want to operate from a very backward mindset. And that's the thing that is holding us back. But let's do our bit. And I think that's why I'm encouraged. to hear more of how you can begin influencing this sector. Just as you sharing your own ideas and your thoughts in written form or through video, whichever format you choose. And who knows, maybe you'll be the next CS for transport and you'll be probably advising the government or, doing your bit, whatever that will be. You're now doing it with Zeobikes and who knows what in the next future would be. I was actually thinking, you guys might have started off as Zeobikes,
mm,
but might be end up pivoting into something else altogether, but still within the e-mobility space. And I think that's why I'm encouraged by even the naming that you took by saying Museum Motors. So you're opening yourself wider. Maybe you start building
Actually,
cars.
what we normally say is this.
Yeah.
What we normally say is whenever I'm discussing stuff with Charles, we
Mm,
say anything as long as it is green,
mm,
we are
you're in
in.
it. Yeah.
Because one of the ideas that, in fact, this is the first time I'm mentioning an idea that I've thought of for a very long time. You see this optical OPV, optical photovoltaic film.
Or
You can
the
actually
one on the windows. Yeah.
on Windows.
Mm.
If we had the technology ecosystem, we could actually make it into a sail so that those sailboats, where they are traveling during the day, they may be charging batteries for a motor so that,
Yeah.
then some of them have motors to get into the port or something.
Yeah.
So
Hmm.
instead of using an outboard motor, you can be using sails. You have the wind, it is pushing for the boat, but the sail is also a very large panel that is charging.
Mm.
But see, when you have a technology ecosystem, you can actualize that one within a month or so.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Mm,
Yeah. I mean, I,
mm,
I I think in the field of application,
mm,
you know, it's
mm,
limitless because that's what I'm saying. You guys might have started off as bikes, but even
mm,
you might decide, you might realize, oh, there are certain components that we're able to put together in this
mm,
format. How about if we fashion them in this way and build an application tool out of this? And if you start thinking about the other versions that you guys will create out of this one single product that you first envisioned, and the
mm,
paths that you'll end up taking, you know
mm.
uh, you can't even envision because as I say, they are limitless.
Yeah,
you
yeah.
you, you guys will end up coming with fashioning some other application, you know doing a mismatch of something else and coming up with a new product altogether.
Mm.
So the opportunities are quite exciting, and I think we do live in an exciting age. And
Yeah,
once again, I think just to wrap this up, thanks, Brian. I think we can go on and on and on
yeah. We have to put
on this
brakes on.
discussion. You have to put brakes and
Yeah, to
put
allow
that.
to allow to allow the mind to come up with something else.
Yeah, we'll see
Mm.
what next Saturday brings, bro.
It's a
But
free
thank
flow Saturday. You just
free
flow,
flowing,
flow.
free
Mm,
flowing, guys. And thanks again to all the guys who joined and their thoughts and ideas on this topic that we were discussing today.
mm,
Thanks to Richie, thanks to Melon Husk, thanks to Sharif Mustafa. I don't know. I think there was another fourth guy. He probably maybe didn't comment. But all the same, we thanks to everyone who joined in on this live. And with that, I think we'll sign off from here.
we are
Thanks
out.
and see you next time.